This is MassCom 215, Visionaries in Media, San Jose State University, on our last class meeting night, December 7th, 2020. We have an extraordinary guest tonight that I'm looking forward to interacting with, and so is our class. So I welcome everybody in the class. We're going to get to talk a little bit later as final thoughts for this semester. But right now, I'm going to turn it over to our host tonight, Holly Klotz. Holly?
Yeah, so tonight we have documentary filmmaker Erin McGough here. Thank you so much again for being here, Erin. Hopefully most of you got to see the pre-interview that we did. Just in case you didn't, Erin, would you mind taking a moment to briefly reintroduce yourself?
Yeah, definitely. So my name is Erin McGough. Like I said, I went to American University. I graduated from there in 2017. And then upon graduating with a degree in film and media arts and a minor in marketing, I got a Pulitzer Fellowship and went to Laos to film my first feature documentary, This Little Land of Mines, which is about 80 million unexploded American bombs in Laos, which many people don't know is the most heavily bombed country per capita on Earth. So I bootstrapped the whole thing. I moved back in with my parents to afford it. I did 2 crowdfunding campaigns. I applied to all the grants. I just scraped together the money, hired a local crew in Laos, and collaborated with them to make the film. I came back, I edited the whole thing because I'm an editor. And during this time, I freelanced as an editor and director for agencies in the Baltimore, DC area. And then it premiered in 2019. And then did the festival circuit and moved to New York. And since then, I've made 3 short documentaries. And yeah, now I live in New York. COVID obviously has impacted a lot of the filmmaking industry, but I work mainly as a video editor for agencies. And right now I'm actually on a contract with National Geographic. And I'm in development for my next feature documentary.
Awesome, and I'm personally so excited that you're here. I hope everybody else is. I think I mentioned to you that the style of tonight's class is going to be Q&A. So before we jump into that, I was wondering, what's that?
Oh no, sorry, you paused for me, but I think it's my connection. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay.
I can hear you. Okay, sorry about that. I was wondering if we could go around and everyone just briefly tell Erin who you are and what you specialize in. If we want to start with Blue. Blue's the first on my screen, so we can go around.
Hi, my name is Blue. I come from Vietnam. I'm a second-year graduate student majoring in communication. I'm a fan of your TikTok. Okay, that's it.
And whoever wants to go next, you can just start jumping in.
I can go. I'm Jennifer. I'm second year in the program, and I'm studying more on marketing. And like Blue, I'm also a fan of your TikTok. I followed you the other day, and I like your videos.
Thank you.
Hi, Erin. My name is Devin Chappelle. I have a bachelor's degree in economics from Morgan State University. I am a first-year grad student with a focus in mass communication, and I'm very excited to hear what you have to share with us today.
Hi, I'm Tian Shu. I'm from China. I'm an international student. I'm in my second year graduate student. And I really love your way to tell your stories. So thank you for being here.
Hi, Erin. I'm Neelanjana. I'm a second year graduate student here. So I'm very interested in the documentary filmmaking space. In fact, Holly and I are doing a documentary together for our final project. So thank you for being here today.
Hi, my name is Evgenia. I'm from Moscow. I'm also second year graduate student. Prior to this university experience, I used to work in a digital and creative marketing agencies in Moscow. Very nice to meet you, Erin. Thank you for coming.
Hi, Erin. I'm Aubrey. I am also a second year graduate student focusing more on the marketing side, and it's really exciting to have you here. I watched your documentary and your TikToks, and I'm just excited to get to know you a little bit more, so thank you.
Hey, Erin, I'm Chris. Thanks for being here. I'm also a second year graduate student in the Mass Communications program. I look forward to hearing what you have to talk about tonight.
Hi, Erin. Tyra Whitehead. I'm also a second year graduate student. I got my degree in communications with a minor in sociology. I'm just excited to hear what you got to say today as well.
Okay, hi Erin. I'm Isabel. I'm a first year graduate student, and my focus is more on social media marketing. But I too have come across your TikToks, which it's funny how just, TikTok knows your algorithm, but I'm excited to hear more about your experience.
Hi, Erin. I'm Noah. I'm also a first year graduate student in the program. I just got my bachelor's in communication studies back in June, and I also watched a ton of your TikToks. I thought they were awesome, and I'm super excited to hear you talk today.
Nick, I think you're the only one left.
Good. I was waiting in another Zoom for like 5 minutes. Hi, Erin. I'm Nick Gerard. I'm a second year MCOM student, was in journalism as well. And your documentary is very inspiring. I'm a virtual reality expert, and I love telling stories. And well, just seeing how you got really the depth of people in Laos hiding in caves, and really merged your historical film. Well, I'm sure we'll talk more about it soon. So it's great to meet you.
It was indeed a beautifully shot documentary. So, Erin, I'm thrilled to have you here tonight. And I will say, not only did I live in Philadelphia, but I lived in New York. So, yeah, I know a little bit about the town you live in right now. I used to live in Kew Gardens.
Oh, wait, Carroll Gardens?
Mm-hmm.
That's where I live.
Really?
Yeah, I live on Garnett Street.
Yeah, okay, I know where that is.
Now you all know where I live. Yeah, that's so funny. Out of all the neighborhoods in New York.
Welcome to this small world that's getting smaller and smaller. But I'm a journalist by craft, but been teaching here at San Jose State for the last 30 years.
Oh, wow. Oh, my gosh.
That's why they're sending me out the door at the end of this semester, but I enjoyed it. Holly, back to you.
Thank you, everybody. All right, so I'll start off the Q&A with the first question here. Like Neil Longjana mentioned, we're working on our graduate projects, most of us right now, and if not now, there are a few that are going to start next year, sorry. So I wanted to talk to you about teamwork, because filmmaking is definitely an industry where teamwork is very essential. So I was wondering if you could share any stories or experiences, advice on delegating the responsibilities and maintaining a balanced group to make sure everything's working like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, I think that's such a fantastic thing to talk about that perhaps we don't talk about enough. I always say, like, the film industry is like a giant group project. Like, everything you do is a group project, so it's important to get good at them. I find something that's really helpful and empowering to people, and I even did this today with somebody that I'm working with, is you ask them how they like to be worked with. So if you're working with like a colorist, you ask them like, hey, like, I hired you because I trust you and I like your style. That's part one, only hire people who you trust. And then part two is ask them, what is your preferred workflow? Would you like me to be very involved or not involved? Like, for This Little Land of Mines, I hired my favorite score composer in the world. And I asked him, I was like, I trust you. Do you want me to hold your hand through this? Or do you want me to just back off or somewhere in the middle? And I guarantee you, whenever you do that, people will appreciate it. They'll like really feel empowered and they'll trust you. And I think that just makes for a good leader. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a really great way to go about it, to have that open communication and just get straight to the point rather than, digging around awkwardness and playing a guessing game. So that was
a waste of time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna let the class take it away. Whoever wants to jump in first, go for it.
Okay, I'm gonna start first. I try to scroll down your TikTok to find out like when did you start it, but like you have a lot of content. I cannot scroll down to the end of it. When did you start TikTok?
Yeah, you don't want to. My early TikToks are rough. I started it in quarantine because I was bored like everybody else, stuck in my apartment, and I minored in marketing, so I've always been really curious. I like social media, I like self-branding, and I was curious about TikTok. So yeah, I hopped on it. I was just a viewer for like a couple months, but then I don't know, around the time of like the protests and stuff, I just started to think like I love educating, I love inspiring, and TikTok seems to be a place where it's kind of a level playing field and there's a lot of young people there. And I was like, what if I use like my life and my experiences to just give like super candid advice? Because as somebody who entered the film industry with no connections or anything, the most annoying thing to me was just people like gatekeeping and safeguarding all these secrets. And I was just like, what if I go on and I just tell people like, not the end all be all truth, but just my experience. And like maybe from a young person too, I tend to like tell people like, don't just go to Steven Spielberg and look at what he did. Like look at somebody who's just like 5 years ahead of you. So I kind of just want to be like a role model. I've always really loved inspiring people. And I feel like during COVID, it's just, everybody's lives are really hard right now. So it was just a way that I could spread positivity. And yeah, now I post like 3 TikToks a day. And I love it. Like I think in the middle of the night, I'm like, oh, I could post one tomorrow about like, what a color corrector actually does. Or, I could post production terms that you might not know what they mean. It's something fun that I do, and other people seem to enjoy it too. But yeah, so I started around like June.
So do you feel like after you became a TikTok creator, your personal brand kind of get boosted from using TikTok and from TikTok users?
Yeah, I guess so. I definitely get like a lot of messages. I get probably around 30 like Instagram DMs a week, just from like high school and college students just asking questions. It's a little overwhelming at times because I just don't have all the answers for people. And then I get a bunch of emails too. That's why like I turn off my messages on TikTok because I just like couldn't handle it. I was like, if people really want to message me, they can go to my website. But yeah, it definitely is an influx. I see that there's just so many people looking for guidance out there. I mean, just like I am too, I'm always growing. But yeah, I mean, like Instagram following grew and all that stuff, which I find a little scary, honestly, as it's like my personal Instagram account. But yeah, it just comes with the territory, I guess.
Do you get connected to other like cool people also in the film industry through TikTok, or do you get any opportunities of working like from doing TikTok?
Yeah, so actually the job I have now was from TikTok. I'm launching National Geographic's TikTok account. So like they saw my TikTok and they brought me in for an interview, a virtual interview, and saw that I was a documentary filmmaker who also knew TikTok. And they basically just gave me it. And now I spend, full-time, it's my full-time job basically, is designing their launch for their TikTok.
So right now is still the developing stage for, yeah, I learned that stage from your TikTok.
The development, yeah.
Yes. Okay. This is not about TikTok. What do you think about using documentary as a marketing material?
What do you mean, like marketing, like a personal marketing material?
So right now, my situation is we're trying to do this marketing campaign for a jewelry store, and I am actually doing a documentary about the story of the store, how it started, how it's going, how COVID affected them, and we plan to use it as like a marketing material, maybe promote the video and get people to watch it to, I don't know, boosting the brand awareness. But I still don't know if it's a good idea because like I don't know if it's gonna be effective. So, but you have background in marketing, so what do you think about it?
Yeah, I think these days especially, there has to be a differentiator between that's called like a branded documentary, which personally, and this is subjective, I like don't believe it's true documentary, because you're going into it with an agenda, and that's to like promote and sell this jewelry from this jewelry store. So it's actually more of like a commercial shot in a doc style, which is called a branded doc, which is totally fine, but it has its own category all in of itself.
But like when I start doing the documentary, we did not plan to like do the marketing for the store yet. So it's really like a true story, just the store owner speak up about his story and what's been happening. And I don't really consider it like a good marketing piece. It doesn't look like an ad at all, but I still don't know if people are gonna enjoy it and actually pay attention to it or not.
That's a tough position to be in. I remember I was shooting a short doc about a all-female martial arts dojo outside Baltimore, and she asked like if she could use it as marketing materials, and it's awkward because it's like, no, they're not marketing materials. So yeah, that's a tough spot to be in. I think in the beginning, you just need to say, hey, like, this is actual documentary. And you have to make sure that you are telling a story that's like fair and balanced. And that's what documentary is. A documentary and a commercial should look very different from each other.
Okay, that's all for me. I'll let everybody else talk. I've talked too much, sorry.
Hi, Erin. So sort of going off of the TikTok questions that Blue had, I think you kind of maybe answered the question I was going to ask you, but I wonder if you could elaborate a little more. I know you like said that you love sharing your personal experiences on TikTok, and I think that's really awesome. I loved all your TikToks. But I was curious to see if you have maybe an opinion or your thoughts on if TikTok has sort of a role to play in like the landscape of filmmaking itself, or if there's a potential connection there for TikTok and the art of filmmaking in any way.
Yeah. TikTok to me is fascinating, like psychologically, because you see, it makes everybody a filmmaker. Like, it's just so cool. You see these like viral TikTok stars telling these stories in 60 seconds. And it's like, that's all filmmaking is. It's just telling stories. And I think to a lot of people in the film industry, they'd be like, no, those aren't films. Those aren't. But to me, I'm like, no, they are. Like, just because they aren't fancy and what you're used to seeing, like, they're still telling stories. And I think TikTok is exciting. Of course, it's not the typical film and TV, but it's like a new type of storytelling that I think is really exciting, because now everybody with the smartphone can tell their own little documentary. And I think it's really leveling the playing field. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell with National Geographic. We're tackling that. We're like, how do we tell stories through this 60-second app? How do we tell these huge cinematic stories in a platform that isn't welcoming to cinematic things? You know, it's no secret that more candid content does better on TikTok. Like, I don't even care if I have like typos in my videos, because no one else cares, you know? So yeah, I don't know. I guess time will tell. It's a good question.
No, thank you. That was a great answer.
I guess I'll go next. So one thing that really pops out to me about you is that you graduated in 2017, and being a 2016 graduate myself, you know, your age is really inspiring, like seeing what you've been doing. You know, you're a young woman. And so I guess my question to you is, can you just speak on some of the struggles you faced, you know, in your industry while trying to succeed, or any things that you have battled with or had to overcome as you've reached the level you're at? And then furthermore, what advice would you have to us as young, aspiring professionals?
Yeah, great questions. You guys all have good questions. It's because you're all in it, you know it. Yeah, for struggles, I'm definitely the type of person that just like keeps moving forward and kind of just bulldozes forward throughout any obstacles, because I always say in my videos, like, filmmaking is problem solving. That's like all it is. And as long as you welcome problems and obstacles, like they don't bog you down as much if you expect them. But I will say, like, getting funding is the number one issue I've faced. Of course, if getting funding was easy, we'd have a lot of really crappy films. So, but even though, like, you know, what I think is a great film idea, This Little Land of Mines, you know, I struggled to fund that movie. It was very, very difficult. I probably applied to over 100 grants, got rejected from all of them, didn't get serious funding until I was in post-production. So that was a true struggle for sure. And now, you know, that I have that under my belt, it's probably going to be a little bit easier going forward, but it's still very hard. And then I would say another struggle is like emotional struggle. Like when you're working in doc, you get slapped in the face with very ethically complex situations, and you have to be really emotionally intelligent, or you'd be working on your emotional intelligence at least. And in filmmaking in general, you face really complicated situations. You're going to face like super mean people and a lot of critics, and I don't know, I just wasn't ready, I don't think, for the amount of like anger and rudeness in this industry until I faced it. And yeah, so I would say just get ready for those two things to come at you. And then what was your second question?
Well, you kind of answered it. That was just, you know, like any advice that you have for us as just young, inspiring professionals. You know, everybody on this, you know, we're all trying to further ourselves by getting this master's degree, and just any advice you would have.
Yeah, definitely. I would just say, yeah, welcome obstacles, welcome problems. They're going to happen. Filmmaking is problem solving. Always focus on good story. There are so many people who know how to use a Ronin Steadicam and know how to get that cool shot and know how to get that cool, like they're going to Bali and, you know, but only you can tell your story. And you just need to tell good stories, because at the end of the day, successful films and TV shows and music videos or whatever you're making, they are beloved because they told a really good story. And that's all anybody cares about at the end of the day. Also, capture good audio, because people forgive bad video, but they don't forgive bad audio. So don't sleep on your sound engineer, don't sleep on your score, don't sleep on your sound design. I grew up in a musical environment, so audio is very important to me. And I think that's just something that I made a lot of mistakes in, and I see a lot of other young creators make a lot of mistakes in, is not paying enough attention to audio. So.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Hi, Aaron. My question will be a little similar with Nova, but I want to make it clear. So in the past, in the last 2 or 3 years, short form videos are really popular. And I just read some articles that when it comes to the video marketing, less is more, and the short form video is the future. So since you are an influencer on TikTok and you made hundreds of videos and you have 37,000 followers. Wow, great. So you probably know it well. So my question is that, do you think the popularity of short form videos to some extent will affect the ways of creating the long-term videos in the future? I mean, such as the documentary in your industry. And I mean, not only the length of the videos, but also the way of creating, thinking, and the structure of the videos.
Yeah, definitely. That's a really great question. I think like something I noticed with my feature, This Little Land of Mines, that's a 64-minute feature. It's a short feature, and I had a lot of struggles when I was making it, because people were like, oh, like a feature's 120 minutes. And I was like, not anymore. I think things are going to get shorter. I feel like a lot of the movies that I watch that are older than 10 years now, I feel like are way too long. And maybe that's just a symptom of our generation's attention span shrinking. But yeah, I think we're going to see shorter features now. We're going to see more series because people like to control how much content they can get at a time, which I love. And I don't think this is all a bad thing. I think condensing content gets a bad rap. But I think I don't know, it's just kind of something that's happening with the times, and it is a result of the internet and our shortened attention spans. I don't know, I squeezed a lot of movie into 64 minutes, and I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily. But yeah, I don't know. Again, time will tell.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your opening perspective.
I try.
Hey, so quick question for you. I like films. I just did a documentary last semester for one of my class finals, and I found the process leading up to just finding an idea extremely struggling. So just like, can you walk me through like how you got that aha moment, and like after you got the aha moment, how do you put those thoughts and that vision into action?
Yeah, finding ideas is so difficult. I don't think I realized that until after I finished my first feature, The Silver Lining Minds. I keep saying it because I don't know. That's my first feature, my only feature. And I was done with that, and I was like, oh, like, what do I do now? That's another thing you guys should know. Like, there are going to be lulls between your projects, and you need to figure out like how to navigate those. Because they're a part of you for so long, and then they're like done, and you're like, oh, what do I do? But yeah, so that one, that was like divine intervention, I think. I actually had been to Laos in high school, just on vacation, just seeing that country. And then when I was in college, I had this like desire to go back for some reason. And then I literally saw a pamphlet in the library talking about a program that they were doing in Laos, studying the unexploded ordnance there. So I just went to the program, and I learned about the issue in depth in an academic perspective. And then I was like, oh, well, I'm a filmmaker. I got to help them tell the story. So that's how I found that story. But I think for me, my style is things are naturally interesting to me, whether it's a country in Southeast Asia, or it's a business model in the US, or it's a small town in Texas. Like, I don't limit myself. I don't pigeonhole myself. I just go what's ever interesting to me, and I naturally focus kind of well. That is not the case for most people. I know a lot of people who tend to be too into too many things. So I don't have advice for if you're like that. I would suggest just like rank them and like go for number one. But for me, I tend to cling to get obsessed with one subject at a time. Like right now, I'm obsessed with MLMs. 1 month ago, I was obsessed with Texas because I did a short doc about Texas. So that's like my personal style. But when it comes to finding stories, I would just really think about what you're naturally obsessed with. And it doesn't matter if it's weird or random, because to finish a movie about something, you have to be obsessed with it. I think Martin Scorsese said filmmaking is about making the audience obsessed with your obsessions or something. I butchered that, but that's basically all it is. So yeah, I would say just find and be open-minded and hang out with, like, have weird experiences, hang out with weird people. And if there's a certain subject that you're interested in, put out a Google alert. That's what I do. And then I just keep up with the news on it, like all the time. I just keep reading about it. So I don't know if that helps.
No, it definitely helped. Thank you so much.
Hi, Erin. So in your interview with Holly, what I paid attention the most was like your journey. It was not so obvious, right? So you chose, like you were studying in Philadelphia, then you went to Scotland, then you went to Washington, and it took a lot of courage and decision making, So my question was, did you feel any peer pressure or pressure maybe from your family, because it took a lot of strength to say, okay, I'm like, I don't know, quitting now and I'm transferring to another country, another university? And was you sure from the very beginning in all this journey and in this profession particularly? And do you doubt sometimes still and thinking, oh, maybe I should go, I don't know, for corporation or like become a lawyer or something like this? Or were you sure from the very beginning and no one could, I don't know, speak you of it?
Yeah, I mean, that's such a fantastic question. For me specifically, like my journey to filmmaking was pretty straightforward. I grew up in a really musical household. My family like had a recording studio. I played piano and I sang and played guitar. And I have 5 older siblings. We all were super, super into music. But I grew up like, you know, producing music in Pro Tools and Reason and spending a lot of time in those softwares, in post-production, editing. And I always knew that my aptitude was visual. I started making music videos when I was very young, when I was like 13 or 14. And I just enjoyed making the music video so much more than making the music. So I always knew from a young age. I loved going to the movies. The Academy Awards were the highlight of my year. I was just obsessed with how movies could transport you and make you feel things that like other things couldn't really make you feel. So I consider myself very fortunate to have just like known that I wanted to work in film very young. I realized it's not the case for a lot of people. And my parents, I think they were able to see that. And I can understand how as a parent, if your kid tells you they want to go work in film, you would be a little bit like, you're not going to make any money then. But I think my parents knew that I was a pretty rational person and that I was going to be okay. But yeah, I'm very fortunate to have had very supportive parents. Yeah, my dad always encouraged me to like go like live huge and like do crazy shit. So yeah, but yeah, so I'm very fortunate. But I understand like I get messages from people all the time saying like, you know, I want to be a filmmaker so bad. My parents like don't approve. They want me to go to medical school, go to law school. And I always just say, you know how many directors went to law school and became a lawyer and then they became a director? Like, you know, where you go to school and what you study doesn't necessarily matter. Who you are is what matters. So
That's very cool. Thank you.
Hi, Erin. So in your pre-interview, you talked about, it was like my favorite like quote you said, it really gravitated towards me. And you said that in 2020, you're surviving, not thriving. And
I'm glad it's catching on.
yeah, I was like, I totally can relate because I feel like being on Zoom, you know, working full time for 8 hours a day and then doing Zoom at night, it's like really, it gets to you. And so I was wondering what makes you like continue to move forward and like keep going, especially in your industry when it was very hands-on, and yeah, how do you just like, what are some maybe like tips to keep you moving?
Yeah. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, my tagline for 2020 is surviving, not thriving, because I put so much pressure on myself to thrive all the time, like to be like living this crazy life and then be like making stuff. But like this year, just surviving, like not thriving. No, just taking that pressure off completely to thrive, but still thriving. But yeah, honestly, like platforms like TikTok, social media, even though social media I think has been a little toxic this year for me at least, platforms like TikTok I think are really fun. You know, we can all inspire each other. I think staying connected with people like we are right now is very beneficial. Something that I've been doing this year is having virtual coffee dates with other filmmakers. And those are incredible because we're on social media all day, we're on the computer all day, and we don't know, but we create these stories in our mind like, oh, I'm falling behind. Oh, I'm not doing as much as I should. Oh, this person knows what they're doing, but I don't. But those stories don't really exist. And I think when you talk to somebody who's similar to you, who's a peer to you, and you realize like, oh, they're thinking all the same things I'm thinking, like, you know, they don't have it all together like I thought they did. It really just kind of puts things into perspective and can help you, I don't know, stop psyching yourself out so much. We're going through like something so historical right now, and I think we all just need to give ourselves a break, honestly.
Hey, Erin, I'm Chris. In your pre-interview, you talk about female empowerment and how women need to support themselves or support each other in the filmmaking industry. And then you also talked about your experience as a woman and how you had instances where someone wanted to network with you, but really it was harassment, I want to talk to you about the culture of silence of women in the filmmaking industry, right? Because with Weinstein and everything that happened with the Me Too movement, we know that there's kind of a boys club and that's kind of the culture. But what about women that kind of encourage this culture of silence? Do you see that getting any better anytime soon in the filmmaking industry?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's so timely because I just watched The Morning Show, which I don't know if anybody
So
watched.
good. Yeah.
And I watched with my fiance. He was getting so annoyed because the whole time I was like, this is so self-aware. Like, I've never seen Hollywood make something so self-aware, because it was illustrating that exact point. Many women are complicit in it, and it's tough because they're victims and complicit, and it's just the whole thing's a big gray mess. But this is a really exciting time. I said the other day on my TikTok live, like, this younger generations, millennials and Gen Zs are entering the industry now post the Me Too movement, or during the Me Too movement. And that's kind of crazy to me. I'm really excited to see what happens, what changes. I mean, I'm a little pessimistic. I think Hollywood, that's part of the reason I'm in documentary. It's a lot chiller. I feel like people are a lot more eager to, I don't know, in documentary, people are more, I don't know, less hypocritical, I guess. They're more aware of social justice issues, and they want that social equality. But yeah, I think the day of reckoning for those big studios, it's going to be a while. I have a feeling it's still very much a boys' club. The documentary is much more female heavy, and I think that's actually why a lot of females gravitate towards it. But yeah, I mean, I've had my run-ins with especially women, like older women, like women over 40 and 50. That shocked me when I entered the industry. The amount of older women who discouraged me, who straight up told me what I was doing was like a fool's errand, and that I should just not. Yeah. So I don't really have the answer for you, but yeah, women support women, please.
Could I just ask a quick follow-up, just because you're so candid and your answers are so authentic? How did you push through that? Like, how do you push over somebody who's established in the industry telling you that what you're doing is wrong? I mean, how do you push forward?
Make a lateral move. So if there's like a person in an organization that is stifling you, I guarantee you there's another organization just like that one where like that won't be the case. So in times where I've had somebody, like a woman, like, or anybody, slam the door on me, just go somewhere else. Film industry is super competitive. Don't tolerate, I have a, no asshole policy, there's too much demand in this industry. And I think markets are self-regulating. So you have to not engage with those people anymore. You have to cut it off. And I know that's hard sometimes because they're in positions of power, but the more we can just be like, no, like, if you're going to act like that, then I don't work with you anymore. And I'm going to tell other people not to work with you anymore, which is easier to do now than it ever has been. So I don't know if that's helpful or not, but that's just my advice.
No, I think that's wonderful advice. And I mean, it's really like the cornerstone of our class, because media visionaries kind of carve their own path from choices, from doors that get slammed in our face. So I think it's perfect. Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, Erin. So in your interview with Holly, you talked about post-production being a very important stage in the filmmaking process. So what, according to you, are some of the principles to keep in mind while editing a film? And also I wanted to ask you, like, a documentary is also about the filmmaker's point of view. So how do you ensure objectivity in documentary films?
Yeah, that's such a great question, especially nowadays when things are so polarized. I think it's like harder than ever to stay objective, honestly. I had a really hard time doing that this year. But I think Something that I do is try and like be really aware of the bubble that you exist in. A lot of the times I run into people in the industry, especially like in this industry, when you have a lot of people out in California and New York, they're in liberal bubbles. They're in socially liberal bubbles, politically liberal bubbles, very homogeneous, circles. And it's just your personal responsibility to break that bubble. So I personally surround myself with people with very diverse opinions. Like on Twitter, I follow both like far right, far left people. I try to, if I see a breaking story, I go to like, first I go to, like AP or something, but I'll go to like the far right, far left. I'll make my own case for the story, but you just got to check yourself like constantly and be like, wait, do I want this to be true? Or is it actually true? And I think at the end of the day, to be like a journalist, to be a documentary filmmaker, truth needs to be the number one thing that you want to get at, not like your own agenda, which is tough. Like I was in Laos and I went into it thinking like, the US shouldn't give Laos money for bomb removal because they're a communist country and they'll not use the money properly, which is what I heard from people here in America. But then I went there and they told me, no, we use all the money properly. And I was like, okay, I could either choose to not listen to the people who are here telling me that, or I could open my ears, look at the data, and then make an informed decision. And so you just need to like constantly be checking yourself and maybe have somebody else constantly checking you too.
And about the editing part, like what are some of the principles that we need to keep in mind while editing a film?
Well, editing, editing is like my number one love. It's like what I've been doing the longest. It's like what I do all day, so I could talk all day about it. I don't know, everybody has different styles of editing. It's such a personal thing. I would say technical advice is to be as organized as you can in documentary, because documentaries can go on for months, years, and if you aren't organized, it will bite you later. So never like save a file to your desktop just because you're in a rush. Like never do that. Like have everything in a hard drive, hyper organize everything. Never name something final, only name it a version, back everything up to the cloud. So that's just some technical advice. But for storytelling advice, definitely do a storyboard. And before you shoot anything, have a complete script written out. Have a complete storyboard. And I know it's documentary, so you can't actually write a script, but write like a mock script. For example, I'm developing this feature right now. I have a whole plot written out, and it's not going to look anything like that when the film is done, but at least I have a vision, and maybe it'll go that way, maybe it won't. Again, I have to be open to change, but if you go in with nothing, your editing process is going to be absolute hell, because you're going to be trying to make something out of nothing, and I just think that that's pretty tough to do.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Hi, Erin. I was wondering if you could give any advice onto people who are just getting started on honing their video editing skills. And then the second part of my question is your editing pet peeve.
That's a good question. So if you're just getting started, technically speaking, learn the keyboard shortcuts. Watch YouTube tutorials, watch basic Adobe Premiere YouTube tutorials, see how professional editors set up their Premiere, because you can go years without knowing that Premiere has a feature that could save you hours of work. Mm-hmm. And, Media Encoder, Adobe Audition, there are softwares out there that will make your job easier. Editing fast is just a good skill to have. Because it will allow you to get more done. So when you're editing, you're just making thousands of decisions every minute. you're making so many decisions and you will get fatigued. So the faster you can edit, like the faster you can make those decisions and the more options you have, if that makes any sense. So learn your keyboard shortcuts, technically speaking, figure out how to set up your Premiere in a way that's efficient for you, make the process as efficient as you can so that you can do your art. You have more time to tell your stories and do your art. Sorry, that's my dog. And then my editing pet peeve, do you mean like when I'm watching a movie, my editing pet peeve, or when I'm like
when you're watching something?
I don't know, what's my editing pet peeve? I feel like I've been really annoying lately. We've been watching movies and what did I say that we were watching Elf and I was like talking about some continuity issue in Elf. Yeah, being an editor will unfortunately ruin your movie watching experience. I made a TikTok about how I watch like The Office because I can't watch anything like slightly cinematic because it just drives me insane. I guess bad transitions, like, I think they're really distracting. But yeah, I guess. And then like flow, like pacing, like when an editor obviously doesn't have a good sense of pacing, that's really annoying to me. There's a lot.
Thank you, Erin.
Yeah. Sorry.
Hey, Erin. It's good to meet you. So a little transition. I just wanted to ask a little bit about This Little Land of Mines. So what was your process? Take us through a timeline with a lot of focus on ideation, maybe finding subjects, and how you were finding subjects if you can. I'm just curious how you started to get that project going, and what camera gear you used, and maybe how you liked your team size, just a few different questions there.
Yeah, definitely. So with This Little Land of Mines, I was first not going to make it because I was like, I'm not going to be that white girl telling a story about Lao people. So my first priority was to find a Lao filmmaker and partner with them. So, give them my American perspective. They can give me their Lao perspective and we can collaborate on this film together. I can bring it back to America and show Americans. So my first priority was finding a production company, which Laos is a developing nation. So there's not a lot there, but I did find a fantastic film production company there. And I worked with them. And they just happened to be extraordinarily talented people. I had a French DP who was just a world-class DP, and he was mentoring Lao filmmakers in the heritage capital, Luang Prabang. And so the first thing that I did was do a little crowdfunder while I was still in college. I was a senior, and I just wanted to see what people's interests were in this subject. And since I had a minor in marketing, I really just wanted to gather some data as I was branding the film. And at that time, I was also writing the script. I wrote it in a 3-act structure. So the first act was about the history, the Vietnam War, how the bombs got there. The second act was about the present, the 80 million unexploded bombs there, and the people that worked to clear them, which the majority of them are women. So I was really excited to feature them. And then the future and what are we gonna do? So what? That's a big thing in doc filmmaking. It's so what? You told us about this thing in the story, now what? An issue-based doc. And so I raised a little bit of money through a crowdfunding campaign, and then I got a Pulitzer Fellowship, which was really great to get some money, but also just to get validation that the story was interesting and worth supporting, I guess. And so then the whole summer after I graduated, I freelanced, I PA'd and edited and just to make money. I moved back in with my parents just to, save money for the film. Worked with my production team. So I actually stayed here in America and I just gave them money to go around Laos and location scout. So we worked on it together. I would have rather given them money to go do their thing and me just stay here and save money so that they could do more location scouting. So I stayed here and we just talked on Zoom all the time. And they literally just took a road trip around the country, and we had specific people that we wanted to find. So we wanted to find elderly people who had firsthand accounts of the war. We wanted to find a bomb clearer that we could feature. and then, some government officials, and we wanted to find some children who were affected. So they found those people, developed relationships with them, and then I came over to Laos, and we were there shooting for 5 weeks. It was a small crew. It was me, my DP, my camera op. Everybody had multiple roles. So it was my DP and creative director, my camera op, translator, interviewer, everything, filmmaker. And then we had a PA, a line producer, and we had a government official who had to come everywhere with us.
So you really brought together a great team, it sounds like. I mean, it's apparent when watching the film.
Yeah, well, they were already like a crew, but yeah, they're incredibly talented people.
So you kind of got to bring them on and take from their network in a good way, and their experience. Yeah. So it sounds great. I think I have to yield a bit more time, so everyone else can ask a question. I'll come back.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, Erin. I have a question. So I bringing it back to TikTok. I was just wondering, like you say, you give career advice on there and like more lifestyle content tips. How do you think TikTok has like incorporated itself now into like your personal brand? Do you see yourself like still using TikTok even like once we're out of the pandemic and using it to like continue being like a mentor to other like young professionals?
I would like to, I would love to take you guys like along production of my next feature, even though it is an investigative piece, so I don't really know how that would work. But yeah, I mean, I would like to. Let's be honest though, right now I honestly have a lot of time. I have a lot of discretionary time, and that's why I'm posting 3 videos a day. So I don't really know what it's gonna look like, but I do genuinely enjoy doing it. So I hope, I might scale back to just a few videos a week. But yeah, I definitely want to keep the TikTok up. It's really just a fun hobby for me.
So looking at your website, it looks like you've tried a lot of roles, and you've secured so many contracts, like with Border Control to Google, right? Under Armour. So did you join like filmmaking groups with these, ad groups? And maybe what was your favorite group to work with or favorite role to work in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's usually, so like when I graduated, I worked for a couple agencies in the area, just email them, tell them you're an editor, they want you. So that's like how I did all those projects. I worked with ad agencies, marketing agencies, creative agencies in the Baltimore, DC area. And then from there, it just kind of, word of mouth. Like if you're a decent person to work with and you're decent at what you do, like your name will spread. And yeah, like I say on my TikTok, Facebook groups is probably the #1 place to get jobs besides word of mouth. And then when I moved to New York, I did join a like slightly exclusive. You just have to apply to get in. You have to have made 1 feature to get in. So now I'm in a documentary club in New York, where I get all my jobs now, which is really cool.
That is cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other follow-up questions?
Yeah, so what's that DC club or New York club?
I'll let it tell you about it. Mm-hmm. But when you guys make your first feature, hit me up.
All right.
Would you mind if I jumped in with a few questions right about now? Laura, are you okay?
Yeah.
Holly, you okay with that?
Yes.
I'm very impressed, and I want to thank you for spending this time with us. You said a lot of things that I'd like to ask you to follow up on a little bit. What I really liked you said at the outset, you basically show respect for the talent you're working for. There's so many people that don't do what you do. You said to look at people and to tell them either you trust them or you ask them what they have to offer. Because it's basic human nature to make a judgment based on what we see and not know anything about what they can do. How do you get through that? You can trust me now to tell me what I should trust about you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so much of filmmaking is about trust, like the trust between you and the subject, the trust between you and your crew, the trust between you and your audience. Yeah, I mean, my whole thing is that like people tend to have guards up. So just getting them down is half the equation. And by asking people, how do you like to be directed? How do you like to work with people? What's your favorite way to produce? It just totally takes that wall down because they instantly feel empowered that you're asking them their opinion of how they like to be worked with. And I don't know, I just find that it works every time.
I think that point is very well taken. I would even add to it that people like to have the respect of being seen for what they have to contribute. We don't always want to be led around until shoot that, do this, do that, do that. Because eventually you get the impression you don't really need me, you need a robot.
Exactly.
So you want somebody with a brain who's going to speak up, offer some ideas, and the most important thing, argue with you. No, I don't think that shot will work. The lighting is bad, the sound won't be good. Why do you want that shot? How do you feel about being argued with?
Oh, I mean, I think I'm naturally a very collaborative person because I grew up in a big family. It was a problem in Laos though, because of like imposter syndrome. I pretty much always defer to somebody else's opinion. And as a director, you kind of need to stand firm sometimes. And the few times that I did stand firm on my feature, like all those shots I used. So yeah, it's hard sometimes. You just kind of like remember like, no, like, you know, you are supposed to be here. You do have valid opinions. You are creative. You are artistic. You do know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes also know like, oh no, this person actually does know more than me. Like they have been around the ringer. Like I am young, you know, I'm inexperienced in what they do. So my thing is like saying, you should always know your strengths and your weaknesses. And then once you figure out your weaknesses, hire people who are really good at that and then let them do their thing.
Excellent advice, excellent advice. And for that difficult person, to get them to draw them out, to get them to be a part of your team, how much patience do you have before you say, this is not working?
Well, I'd hope that I never hire somebody like that. I mean, I have had instances like that where the relationship starts off really positive and then it turns sour. And then you do what you need to do to get the project done and then you just never work with them again. That's how it goes in my experience. Like some bridges sometimes just kind of have to be burned. And I would recommend not burning bridges ever. But yeah, I feel like relationships is just kind of part of this industry.
Yeah, there are people you want to work with again, and there's people you want to walk away from and never see again.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Yeah, and it's okay. That's acceptable. So that brings me to the other comment you made about, you said something about someone slammed a door in your face. Tell me about that experience, and more importantly, it's not about how you feel, it's about how did you deal with it?
Yeah, like the thing that I was referring to is I was at a film festival like conference and I was supposed to meet with like a funder, and she came to the meeting like it was a 30-minute meeting. She showed up 15 minutes late. It was like already just off to a bad start. And I could tell from the moment she looked at me, she rolled her eyes. Like she literally thought it was going to be the biggest waste of her time, which I thought was just so rude. And maybe it's because I look like I'm 15, but I don't know. And I had my little preview for her. And she was the executive director of a very well-known women in film organization. And here she was discouraging me. And I showed her my trailer and she shut it off halfway through. And she was just like, why are you making this? She just was like, you shouldn't be doing this. You should, go work for somebody else. Like, she's like, this is a waste of my time. And I was like, who are you? Like, that's so crazy. So now I will never work with her. I'm a very petty person though. So, but yeah, no, I'll tell that story and I will never, ever work with her, ever.
And it's not that unusual to encounter that type of person.
Yeah.
Any line of work that our students go into, they're going to find people like that, or they're just going to make a decision about you before they actually look at what you've got to offer. Yes. We were talking in our other class, Holly, with Kit Doe, when he was talking about news directors in television. They get all of these portfolios, all of these videos to look at. And everybody thinks their video is the one that should get them the job. When in reality, the news director's attitude is, throw that out, don't need that, nope, terrible, doesn't work. All right, let me see a little bit more of that one. 1 minute's enough of that one. It's very straightforward. It sounds like your business is a lot like that too.
Yeah, very, very blunt. And I'm okay with bluntness. I actually really like constructive criticism. but it's when people are just like straight up rude, and you know they're rude to you because of who they're assuming that you are. That's where I draw the line. I'm like, okay, you're just assuming things about me, but you don't actually know me. And that's the reason you don't like me. It's like a personal thing. It's like, you can not like me for professional things, but don't just shut me down for personal things. So yeah, it's my 2 cents.
And then my last thing is, like I said, I was fascinated by a lot of the things you said. You talked about there's not enough money sometimes for everybody to go to Laos to be there for all of the shoots and drive around. So you let the crew go and you pay for them to go do the shot and get the shots that you want. That puts a lot of pressure on you because you're counting on their eyes. You're counting on their ability to know your concept, know what you're trying to produce as a vision for the final product, and then to offer you suggestions that they've seen that fit into that. Far too often, there are a lot of people that don't pay enough attention. They're too busy interested in their own thing. Or you can't always trust what they shoot is what you were thinking. How do you get past all of that?
Yeah, so it requires solid direction. And the only reason I was able to offer that solid direction is because it took me so long to raise enough money to get to that point that I knew exactly the film that I wanted to make, because I had so much time to think about it. And so when you're trying to raise money for films, you're usually writing all these grant proposals, and they make you inspect every single aspect of your idea. You have to write down the whole script and the whole characters and just everything. And so I knew exactly what I wanted to film. And I also had a lot of knowledge about Laos because I had been there multiple times. I had studied it. I had a relationship with these people. And so I feel like we were able to communicate. But I will say it was difficult. Many of my members of my crew barely spoke English, which was very difficult. And there was a huge cultural barrier between us. So yeah, it was really hard, but I think I just knew this topic inside and out. So I think that's just what helped.
It does sound like your job is more challenging than being sheltered for COVID. Sheltering for COVID is easy compared to what you've been describing. Because
yeah, that's more fun.
Exactly. You have to love what you're doing in order to put up with all of that. Try to raise money, try to deal with idiots, try to get the shots that you want, try to do all the different things you want to do, and at the same time stay true to your vision.
Yeah.
So what does your fiance or your boyfriend think about that?
Well, he's over there in that room. Well, we've been together for a long time, so I think he thinks it's cool. You like my movies, right, Michael? You like my movies? Yeah. Yeah, he says yeah.
Tell him I said good answer.
He's a good answer. He's actually a graphic designer, so he brands my projects.
Very good. Very
I get free branding. So.
Well, you sound like you're a very good team together, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Any final questions for our guest? Because I really hope nobody walks away from this class thinking filmmaking is easy. You're about to go into poverty if you think that. The concept of just being able to say what you need to say and have a picture for every element of what you want to say, that will drive you crazy. Because I know it used to drive me crazy in 2 minutes on a television news story. I can't imagine an hour-long documentary. And then after you put it all together, it may not work.
Yeah, it's tough, but it's fun and rewarding.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations to you and all the very best.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. I love doing this type of stuff, and you guys all seem like you'll be very successful.
Well, they ask good questions.
They do. You guys ask really fantastic questions. I was like, I don't know what to say.
Well, my only hope for this is that you've answered as beautifully as you could and certainly as authentically as we like to hear it. Now it's up to them to bring it into their memory patterns and hold on to a lot of things you said tonight, because they will encounter the same type of situations.
Yeah, definitely. And guys, feel free to reach out to me at any time. My email is just erin.mcgoff@gmail.com, and I'm always here for support.
Very good.
Thank you so much, Erin.
Of course.
Great.
Thank you so much. All right,
Thank
thanks,
you,
guys. Have a good night.
Thank you, Erin.
Have a good night.
Great to meet you.
Holly.